How do? I've just seen this, so I've just added this onto the beginning of the video. New bench up on the pit site. We need to protect tomorrow's children. I'm all for that, as well as today's, definitely. So, I'm up on the pit site. Following on from this, about 7 minutes, I am in the office reading an article and remembering Stephen Lawrence. After that, about 7.5 minutes, up here, vlogging mobile phones. I'll see you.
How do? So, I'm going to read 2 articles, one really short. The second is a little bit about Stephen Lawrence, a young lad who was murdered. My own memories of the time. It didn't go down too well, this with the public. It's not the fact the lad was murdered, which is tragic enough. The police investigation and all the subsequent shenanigans just left a nasty, nasty taste. You got to feel for the family with his case. So, very short articles. I'll read the first bit. This is about a guy who was prosecuted and convicted of killing him. The second part is about Stephen Lawrence. I think it's important to remember these people. And then I'm going to go onto the field with Stephen and vlog about mobile phones. Investigation launched after killer of Stephen Lawrence reportedly obtained smartphone in prison. Ministry of Justice investigating alleged security breach that's allowed David Norris to send selfies to friends. An investigation has been launched after one of the men convicted of murdering Stephen Lawrence, rest in peace, reportedly obtained a mobile phone in prison and sent selfies to friends. The Ministry of Justice said it is investigating the alleged security breach involving David Norris, who has now been placed in segregation, and warned that prisoners found with mobile phones can expect longer jail terms. It's not really a threat, that. Norris, who was given a life sentence after being found guilty of murdering Lawrence in 1993, sent a picture of himself in a prison cell to friends. That's all I'm going to read about that guy. That's all we need to read about him. Basically the usual thing. Social media, Facebook, this sort of thing. It happens a lot. There's quite a lot of high profile ones. There's things all over YouTube. People filming people on spies, giving people spies, getting beatings in cells, all sorts of things. It's everywhere. Mobile phones are rife in prison. A bit about Stephen Lawrence, like I say. Stephen was an 18-year-old sixth form when he was attacked on 22nd of April 1993. He and his friend, Dwayne Brooks, had been waiting at a bus stop in Eltham, London, when a gang of white teens shouted racial slurs at them before attacking them. Though Brooks managed to escape unharmed, Lawrence was hit in the head with a bat and stabbed, leaving a 10-inch knife wound in his neck that caused arterial bleeding. The pair ran from their attackers, but Lawrence collapsed on the pavement. He died in hospital that same night. The next day, a letter was left in a telephone box giving the names of the suspects in the attack. Luke Knight, Gary Dobson, brothers Neil and Jamie Accourt and David Norris, who were being linked with other racist incidents and knife attacks in the area. Norris had, in fact, stabbed Stacey Benefield only a month before Lawrence's murder. All of the men were arrested, and Neil Accourt and Knight were charged with the murder after Wayne Brooks had identified them. The case brought focus to racial tension in the area. Lawrence was one of 4 black youths to be murdered in the area in 2 years. As 700 mourners gathered at his funeral service, there were calls for the British National Party to be closed, sentiments echoed by the clergyman presiding over the funeral, as the Anti-Racist Alliance also called for the BNP, British National Party's nearby headquarters, to be closed. The party organised a march through London. The tensions weren't limited to those within the community. Immediately, the investigation of the murder faced criticism. Brooks claimed that an officer at the scene threatened to handcuff him because he was becoming hysterical. Another questioned whether racial slurs were really used. The police come under fire for not immediately conducting house-to-house investigations along the streets the killers escaped down. 2 of the suspects even lived close to the scene. Then in July, the charge against the court and Knight were dropped, and the CPS, Crown Prosecution Service, said Brooks' evidence was unreliable. By April the following year, the Crown Prosecution Service was refusing to prosecute on the grounds on insufficient evidence. Neville and Doreen Lawrence launched a private prosecution against Neil Court, Dobson and Knight, but the judge ruled that Brooks' identification evidence was inadmissible and the 3 teenagers were acquitted. After almost 4 years after Stephen's death, his inquest continued. All 5 suspects appeared, but refused to answer questions. The verdict came back as unlawful killing in an unprovoked racist attack by 5 youths. The following day, the Daily Mail paper ran the suspects' photos on the front page, accusing them of Stephen's murder and inviting them to sue if they were wrong. But despite the inquest verdict, charges still hadn't been made, although an inquiry was opened in 1998, during which all 5 suspects were ordered to appear and give evidence, and were duly pelted by protesters. It wasn't until 2011 when 2 of the suspects, Dobson and Norris, were finally charged and sentenced to trial in the murder. They were found guilty in 2012. So, how did the 5 men evade charges for so long? Fears of corruption hung over the investigation. John Davison, who had been senior detective on the first investigation, was accused of accepting bribes from Clifford Norris, the father of one of the suspects, in return for shielding the murders. He was later cleared of the charges, though Dwayne Brooks said the investigation was pointless, calling Davison a smokescreen. A whole host. It's really shocking how the whole thing went down. Like I say, it just left a nasty taste, I feel. It was awful. Jack Straw opened an inquiry into his death, 1997. The McPherson report concluded the investigation had been marred by a combination of professional incompetence, institutional racism, and a failure of leadership. Officers within the Met Force were named. The force was criticised, and specific recommendations towards tackling racism in society were recommended. I'm going to leave it there. Like I say, it was shocking at the time. Out to the field with Stephen, talk about mobile phones.
How do? Back out with a boy. Talking about mobile phones. Firstly, the Ministry of Justice getting tough. Yeah? You can add years to your sentence if you get caught with a mobile phone. Amazing. Here's the thing. If I've got a phone, I'm not giving it you, because I can get more years. The place where prisoners carry phones, not all the time, is up the back passage. Yeah? Fact, keep them plugged. So, how do you discover mobile phones? Most prisons now have got a boss chair, no secret that. A boss chair, you sit on it, it indicates. Yeah, give an indication, a light, if you have something plugged on your body. Searching was going by the wall when I left the prison service. Way before that, people would allegedly search and sign. Yeah, times now, no dynamic security. I don't know you, you don't know me. Oh, prisoners will intimidate people, especially young people going in cells searching, if at all it is happening. Certain prisons, they'll be faring better, postcode lottery, others not so much. I know that from the people I speak to. So not a lot of searching going on. Enhanced security, gate security. Come off, Stephen. This way. Oi! Oh, he loves rotting wood. Come on. Black labs, eh? Go on. Black labs matter. Enhanced gate security. Portal type security to put prisoners through. Send everyone through it. Me as an officer, all the managers, all the civvies, the legal people, because legal people have got caught taking phones into prison. Lots of people take them in, and course staff are taking them in. Corruption has gone through the roof. Lots of young people, no life experience. It is not a diss on young people. It is an intimidating job. I started in the job when I was about 40. I got plenty of life experience. It was still intimidating. I had plenty of instances where my bum cheeks were clenched together. Yeah. If you've ever done that job and never been scared, you're either cuckoo or you're lying. Very intimidating. So I'm not handing it over to you. I'm not getting extra time. All the security in the world, the boss chair and that. I come into prison. I've come into your prison. I'm not giving you that phone. I'm not getting extra time. You're going to put me in the segregation unit. Yeah. In a dry cell, maybe. A dry cell does have a toilet, but if you do anything, you go to the toilet, it goes, you know, into a tank or whatever. So if you pass your phone, or whether you actually physically pass it or you pass it like naturally, we're going to find that phone as prison staff. Yeah. So what happens if 10 people come into your prison, all positive on the boss chair? You're going to fill your seg? No, you're not. You might put them on the wing. You can segregate people on the wing. There is rules and regs, right? So solitary confinement, if it's full, you can hold someone on a wing behind the door. Governors don't like doing it. So basically, you'd be stuck. I've been in that situation. I've had a lad who definitely got a phone plugged. I sent him back to the wing, nothing I could do. I couldn't go up there and get it, and I won't want to. It is what it is. Lots of talk about mobile phones. This lad must be very disturbing, you know, Stephen Lawrence, rest in peace, for his family. When things come out in the news that somebody who was prosecuted and is serving his sentence for murdering their son is sending selfies to social media. But here's the thing. I had a very good friend years ago, worked for T-Mobile, yeah? The technology then, they can block phone signals, yeah? So why are we even talking about mobile phones? The Ministry of Justice this, Ministry of Justice that, concerned about mobile phones. You know, people can carry on their criminality, run a business, intimidate witnesses, all these things. Why can't we block it? We're sending space vehicles, landing them on planets and taking pictures, but we can't block a signal. A lot of politics around it, yeah? Some prisons are in the middle of nowhere. Put a blocker in. I know they can block phone signals. If it was that much of an issue, they'd be tackling it full on. No one has any interest. And a note, some years ago, prisons up and down the country, a lot of them, especially the older ones, had new cell bell systems put in. Cell bell. Emergency cell bell, as staff call it. Only to be used in emergencies. God, the staff that used to go nuts about that. You know, if a lad pressed a bell on nights, desperate for a toilet, and he'd run out of toilet roll, they'd give him one. You'd have staff stood at his door like some Sergeant Major. Emergencies only, giving it that one. You know, proper Jobsworths. They had new systems put in. I know for a fact, yeah, technology then was put in as well to block phone signals. Each cell, new call cell, cell bell, phone blockers, yeah. The problem was the technology was already outdated. If we were on 3G phones, yeah, the technology they put in was 2G or whatever. It was shite. Big backhanders, maintenance department, somebody there be getting a big backhander, some governor, some company who knew a minister. So they were in prisons fitting these systems in, old technology. Phone blockers, yeah. Lots of backhanders everywhere. Mobile phones. Lots of stories about mobile phones. It's just a game. At night, people will take them out. I've known people leave them out. 2 people in a cell, you get a phone. It used to be both people in that cell would get punishment, yeah? Then it changed. And to be fair, you know, if I'm in a cell with you, you've got a phone, you leave it out, the screws, prison officers get it, yeah? I'm not going to take a charge for you. So you find a phone, 2 people in a cell, you can't charge either. So there we go, that's mobile phones. For me, it's an issue that shouldn't be an issue. We can block signals, there's plenty of technology out there. but heartbreaking for the family, remembering Stephen Lawrence. Gonna leave it there, guys. Stephen, as always, parting shot. Welcome new subscribers, everyone who supports me on Patreon, everyone who's bought me a brew, everyone who's contributed to the channel. Thanks for coming. I'll see you there.